Hi everybody, Dan Stolebarger, Holy Ground Explorations. It's time for this week's Middle East update, week of July 20th. And man, what a week it's been. Before I even get started, let me encourage you to go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com in order to access the PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this short YouTube. I think that will give you more of a complete picture because it has snippets of articles as well as photos as well. We do have some announcements that we'd like to make, some things that we've got going on. I'll let you take a look at that with our upcoming tours to Israel. Again, that'll be on our website, but let's jump into what in the world's going on in the Middle East this week. Now, let me set the stage by saying this. I will not be surprised if a week from now things are radically different. We have to understand that the cauldron is boiling over, the sand is running out of the hourglass, and suffice it to say, the war drums are beating, especially in relationship to Gaza. Understand, my friends, that over the last week, over 200 rockets have been sent from Gaza into the Negev, southern Israel, Sderot, Ashdod area. And, these devices, besides the rockets, we have kites, we have balloons with incendiary devices that are connected to the balloons. And as crazy as it sounds, they just attach one of these devices to a falcon to send over, and it is just, it's spinning out of control. And I believe that Israel has come to the end of their patience, the end of their rope, so to speak. And any talk of ceasefires are almost a joke. And so I think something major is about to happen, and that's just in the south. Now, we take a glimpse of what Trump's mission was to meet with Putin, and what I read is that Israel comes out on the good side. Russia has agreed in principle to the U.S. and Israeli demands that the Iranian-backed forces in southern Syria, would be kept away from Israel's borders. Now the question, how's that been going? Well, once again, I'm just going to give you a quick overview, encourage you to go to the website and read the articles for yourself. But what has taken place over the last week is not one but two unmanned drones have been sent from Syria into Israel. About a week ago, one was sent, and the IAF had taken it down and exploded over the Galilee. In fact, what I read was that they had all the boats go to shore while the military found all the pieces of the drone. That's 6.5 miles that drone traveled from the Syrian-Israeli border into Israel. And then last Tuesday, another drone was sent from Syria. And by the way, I should probably bring this point to light, Iranian drones. So this whole thing with Russia and Iran staying their distance or whatever, somewhat of a joke. Iranian drone, the second one sent over. Now Israel retaliates. If you get a look at a map and take a look at Syria, you realize how far Aleppo is from, let's say, Mount Bental. And the IAF struck the Aleppo airport, killing 22 people, 9 Iranians. And so when I talk about war drums, the cauldron, the sand out of the hourglass, you can understand what's taken place. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo just recently, in a quote, said, "Iran continues to send weapons across the Middle East in blatant violation of UN Security Council resolutions. Iran's regime wants to start trouble wherever it can. It is our responsibility to stop it." So those are kind of the headlines. Some of the articles that we have talk about the ceasefire, the fake ceasefire, what's held, what hasn't held. You know, I just finished reading a book that's called Rise Up and Kill First. It's a verse from the Talmud that says, when your enemy is on his way to kill you, rise up and kill first. This book is the secret history of Israel's targeted assassinations, really a history of the Mossad. I found it fascinating to read, especially in light of this article. Ahmad Massour Hassan, 35 years old, the commander of the Al-Aqsa Martyr Brigade missile unit, he and his 13-year-old son Louis were killed in an explosion on Sunday that also critically injured others. Now, remember, 200 rockets have been sent over the last week from Gaza into Israel. One, by the way, struck a synagogue. The other, by the way, struck a kindergarten. And I often ask my friends, you know, we live up very close to the Canadian border, and I often ask my friends or audiences to say, how many rockets would we accept that would come from Canada into northern Idaho, hitting an elementary or a kindergarten or a church or whatever? How many would we accept before we said to Canada, that's it, no more, or else we will retaliate and there will no longer be any city on that border whatsoever? I don't think it would take more than one or two. 200 were sent just in this last week alone. And so back to the article, this expert in Gaza regarding missiles and rockets, Gazan sources reported the cause of the explosion that killed both him and his son remains unclear and under investigation. Media sources have conjectured that the explosion was the result of Hassan working with explosives intended to be used against Israel. You know, today I've got my Land of the Free, Home of the Brave shirt on. I should have probably put my Mossad shirt on that basically says Mossad ... It's never an accident. So, once again, I think that we're in a situation where it's a hair trigger. And a week from now, maybe a whole different story. I mentioned one of the devices that was sent over besides balloons. By the way, another kindergarten was hit with a balloon coming over. Can you imagine kids in a play yard seeing a balloon? This balloon's coming over and it lands in a sandbox and it explodes with a fire device whatsoever. It is dealt with no harm. But once again, I want you to understand that over 40% of the children in the Sderot area are diagnosed with post-traumatic syndrome. No big surprise there. Can you imagine these red alerts that are going off constantly when these rockets are being launched? You have 14 seconds to get to a bomb shelter. We have an article about a man and his wife whose house was hit. The glass exploded. There was blood everywhere. And again, what does the world say about this? It's very silent. And if any blame is given, where's the blame directed? Israel. It's all Israel's fault. 200 rockets. And by the way, a falcon. You can see in this article, a dead falcon was found in southern Israel on Monday with strings attaching a device for fire materials to its claws, and leading investors to conjecture that the bird had been sent into Israel as part of an ongoing aerial arson attack that's launched from Gaza. A bird of prey native to Israel was found hanging from a burnt tree in a riverbed not far from the border. Once again, it's just insanity that's taken place. I want you to take a look again at the articles about the drone. I mentioned the Aleppo strike, and and kind of stepping back and looking at the Middle East chessboard, but kind of want to conclude with this article that I just called TikTok. Let me set the background. You know, make no mistake about it, the Palestinians in Gaza have a miserable existence at this time. Their government could care less about it. Over 40% are unemployed. They have about 4 hours of electricity a day. And all of the human aid that's been sent to them is not going to hospitals or schools or infrastructure. It's going for terror tunnels and rockets, bottom line. So when I read this, I thought this paints a pretty good picture. Iran, we know that, which is behind 90% of worldwide terrorism. A general from Iran offered to the Palestinians in Gaza. He doesn't offer to build them a hospital or a school, nor does he offer to provide financial aid to create projects that would give jobs to the unemployed Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. His message to the Palestinians is simply this: Iran will give you as much money and weapons as you need, as long as you are committed to jihad, the holy war against, listen, against Israel and the big Satan. Who do you think that is? That's right, the U.S. As I started this article off, I want you to understand that these escalating tensions on the Gaza border spell crunch time. Crunch time for Israel. Hamas's Palestinian arson terrorism is wearing Israel's patience thin. It's increasing these chances of the ultimate conflict in Gaza. Decision makers say that Hamas has been given due warning and it's running out of time. The days are the coming days, and this is a quote from an IDF general, will decide whether war is in the cards. Gaza Strip's rulers may not realize it yet, but Israel has run out of patience, and a few more bouts of arson terrorism will cause a full-fledged escalation. That's what's going on. That's the Middle East in the week of July 20th. Let me remind you that God is not surprised by any of this. The God of Israel neither sleeps nor slumber, and he holds Israel in the palm of his hands. And as believers today, it's time for us to step up and stand with Israel. I will bless those that bless thee, and I will curse those that curse thee, saith the Lord. Shalom, and pray for the peace of Jerusalem. God bless.